Now we're starting to see some signs, by the way, of uh, the market running out of some momentum and steam up here. And we know that NASDAQ is the leading market, and NQ didn't really have as big of a push today as it has in the recent few days. And then when it pulled back, it made a new RTH low into pre-market support. So we are now starting to see some indications of a slowdown, right? So um, let's see, let me pull up the NASDAQ chart. So here's NQ, and you can see that it starts off strong, puts in the break to a new high, pulls back, makes a new intraday low, holds support, and then makes another high. But the fact that it had to make a new low on the day to then make a new high is already a early warning sign. Again, it doesn't mean that Nasdaq has to now turn around or fail, but these are the small observations that we need to take into account to help us determine how strong this market truly is. And it's also not really a big surprise that Nasdaq would start to run out of steam. It made a really large move on Friday. So the fact that it's consolidating here is not necessarily a bad thing, but it just tells us that, there's a little bit of a slowdown in the Nasdaq. The S&P has already been lagging behind, but now even the leading market is running out of energy up here and momentum up here. So I think we should stay pretty watchful on how this thing resolves and not get complacent. So keep a close eye on how NQ is behaving, and if we start to notice more changes in the character of NQ, then that could spill over into the S&P as well, which has already been weaker and lagging behind and kind of more mediocre, right? So that's one of the reasons, by the way, that even though the market's been quite strong, at the same time, the reason I haven't made the short-term bias full-on bullish is because the way that the S&P has broken out. Just the character of price action of the S&P has been very rotational even during this breakout. And for the S&P in particular, I think we have to continue monitoring the breakout because it hasn't been this, clear-cut big breakout higher where it just pushes away from its previous range and doesn't look back. It's still kind of hovering around its previous all-time high. So I think we need to remain pretty observant here and maintain that neutral bullish stance. And as long as support is holding, we're going to continue to give weight to the buy side. But if support breaks, then we need to pull back and we need to be more mindful of trade location because the market is trading at very elevated prices, of course, right? It's near fresh all-time highs here. So we're going to maintain neutral bullish perspective as we head into overnight. On the downside, the existing zones are still valid and in play. And as long as we're holding this pre-market support, NQ can be still in a fairly strong and bullish state. And as long as ES is holding above its broken initial resistance here, we should assume time frame alignment to be in effect. If this area gives out, if this breaks, that would be a warning sign. And if we take out initial support from today, that would be a bearish indication. And it could then trigger more profit taking across multiple time frames. And that's why below initial support, we should be more cautious on the long side because we may get a liquidation type move into maybe 2 or 3 of the support zones below before buyers step in with any kind of force. Now, because we're in a bullish environment, anytime the market gets overextended to the downside, there's a good chance for buyers to step in. especially at a bias changing or bias confirming zone. But if we're going to head higher, if we're going to continue to push higher, then we want to see ideally the broken initial resistance hold. If that gives out, already a warning sign. If we take out today's RTH low, another warning sign. If we take out initial support, then the short-term pattern could be turning bearish, and that can then drive the market lower. So those are our main ideas as we head into overnight. We'll wrap it up over here. Thank you for attending. And as always, we'll be back at it bright and early tomorrow morning. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.